All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to our Black Widow spoiler discussion. We actually have I guess we can call it a guest on the show, because usually it is me, Broly, and Goss, but we actually have Solara here because he's visiting and he did go watch the movie with me and Broly. So we got to see all three of us together, and then Goss saw it today, which is why we're a day later because I guess it just didn't work out for you guys for yesterday.
Yeah. I ended
But
up going today instead.
yeah, but I mean, we've all seen the movie now. I'm planning on seeing it again Tuesday because my girlfriend wants to watch it. So I'll definitely go watch it again and see how I feel after watching it again. But yeah, we can just get into it. How's everyone feeling about it? We can start off with let's start off with Solara since this is your first time doing
The
this.
guest,
Oh,
yeah.
sheesh. Well, doing pretty good. As far as the movie, I ranked it. Well, I don't know if we start off with like how we ranked it on a scale of 1 to 10. Is that what you guys do?
We usually wait till the very end to do a ranking, but you can just give your
Okay.
overall how you felt about it.
Okay. Overall, how I felt about it, I want to say it started off really, really strong and kind of like a roller coaster. I was kind of smooth sailing up until the end. As basic as I could give it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Brawley, how you feeling?
Pretty much the same. I like the beginning a lot. I like the chemistry with all the character, all the actors, actresses. Definitely two of them really stole the show. Every time they were on screen, it was really, it was really good seeing them on it. And we'll get into it, during the discussion. But yeah, I kind of felt the same. I really liked the beginning, and I felt like in the middle was the climaxing part of it, and the ending was like okay, like towards the end. I want to say like the beginning of Act Three was really really good, and then once it got to the end, it was kind of like it was kind of like it's one of those things where you kind of like there's too many things happening that you really can't really feel anything, that you're just kind of like, all right, I guess this is what's happening and that's it. So that's kind of how I felt.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And Gosh, how about you?
Movie was solid. Um, I all around was a pretty like okay. Look, guys, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, didn't it fucking feel awesome to be back in a movie theater watching another Marvel movie again?
100%. 100%.
It
Oh,
was
100%,
fucking
100%, 100%.
godlike.
Honestly, the whole day was. It felt like leading up to going to the movies. Like Broly and I, we bought one of those like Black Widow special Cinemark theater like cups or whatever. When we went to go watch
awesome.
Cruella. So like I was like, oh, I'll bring that with me, but they don't do refills because of the whole COVID stuff still. So I brought it for no reason. But other than that, I totally agree. We were just like throughout the day. I was like, damn, we're actually gonna go sit down and watch a fucking Marvel movie again.
Yeah, and then especially like after I think the last Marvel movie I saw, I mean, obviously was Endgame because that was like the
Yeah.
last movie. So I mean, like going back to the theater, especially to see a Marvel movie after seeing something like that, was pretty fucking awesome. Like I was really excited. Like our theater was actually really packed. There was a lot of people in there. So I got to experience Black Widow with like a pretty big size crowd. Um, but yeah, I think like overall the movie was solid. There was a lot of like the general feel of the movie was good. It was a good like welcome back Marvel. Like we're here. I think it's a good origin story. I do have some like big gripes with the movie, but they don't like it's something that I looked over because I mean it honestly I mean it's a thing, but it's also like this the way that the movie was playing out it also really kind of doesn't matter, but I mean the movie was solid. It was a great watch. I was glad I was able to watch it in theaters after the whole quarantine situation. And it was cool that like my first movie back in the theaters was a Marvel movie. So that was pretty dope.
same. And can I just say, not to get too far ahead, but like some people in our theater, I mean, it's a given. after every, at least to a point after every Marvel movie, you always stick around. I swear, there's some people who just forgot, either A, forgot, or just B, didn't care, and then we just kept looking at each other like, hey, people forget. It's a Marvel movie.
It's a
You gotta
Marvel
wait.
movie. You're gonna walk out on the credits? No way.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, but when the movie ended, my brother who had never, I took my brother to watch the movie, and he had never seen like a Marvel movie in theaters. So like the movie's over, right? And like maybe two. I swear to God, there was at least like 30 people in the theater, and maybe two people got up and like left. And my brother like gets up and he's like stretching, and he's like, "All right, time to go." And I was like, "Yo, is this first time? Like, yo, is this
You're really joking at a
First
time like this?
first time, dude? Like, no, dog, sit down. Like, it's not over yet."
It's never over till it's over. Even if
Never
Captain
over.
America shows up and roasts you, you know?
It's never over.
But all right, cool. I mean, I guess for me, just to kind of round it out before we hop into little specifics of the movie. I mean, okay, so this is gonna be different from our TV show reviews, because in the TV show ones, we kind of break down the entirety of the episode and like go point to point. But obviously, this is a movie, so it's gonna be kind of new for us to talk about it in its entirety, because if we do that, we'll be here for like 2 hours. But but yeah, just overall, I think the movie was like one of the best intros to a movie. Really, really captured that, I don't know, I really enjoyed how it felt like here's a character in the Marvel universe that's so used to being on the run, that's so used to being tactical and like always alert, and she's always rolling 20s on her perception checks. That's basically how it felt for most of the movie. She was doing great, and they really portrayed that aspect of like always staying on your toes sort of deal. And yeah, I think I enjoyed it. And similar complaints that you guys have was just, there were certain parts of the movie where it kind of just says, all right, you know what, we gotta have a big moment now, so we're gonna start going all out, and it kind of loses its momentum writing wise. But I still think it's a movie that I enjoyed. I can see myself watching again, and it's a movie that I definitely would recommend people to go watch. But that's how I feel about it. We can get into things we didn't like soon enough, but I guess we can just talk about the intro for now. So whoever wants to take this point, how did you guys feel about pretty much the point of the beginning of the movie all the way until we get to Scarlett Johansson, like in like
Time skip.
Time skip time.
I thought it was really great. They showed off the pretty much her childhood, or they showed off a moment of her childhood. They were in Ohio. And it was her and her family. It was her sister, her mom, and dad. And I thought it looked like the first shot of that kid actress. I was like, yo, like, did they do something like some de-aging thing? Because she kind of had the face of Scarlett Johansson, like literally, like pretty spot on.
It was actually pretty close. You know
close.
what? You want to know who that character, the child that played that role looked like to me though? Mila Jovovich. It kind of looked, it looked like Mila Jovovich.
I think
a
it's just
little
when you
bit.
get like some pasty white person with dyed hair, you kind of like you're in that realm of that actress.
I wonder if it was like a directing decision to like dye her hair just so like there wasn't like a oh, she doesn't have red hair kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's kind of I think it was more
But then
of
again, it was more of a what?
it was more of like like kind of it puts more mystery into the character, right? Because you still don't know who she really all about. It also kind of shows that she was the outcast of that family because she was brought in, right? Like she was on the streets, and Dreykov basically put her in that family, and so they weren't really her mom and dad. They weren't really her sister, but it kind of adds a little bit of a character to them. So yeah, like the movie just kind of goes on, and we find out that they're not from America, that they're actually Russian spies. The dad was the Russian spy. They get out, they fly to Cuba. Her mom gets shot. So and then they get separated, right? And that's when the movie actually starts. That's when the title screen starts, kind of showing her kind of grow into this red room and kind of like you don't really see a lot of her like training, but you do see what these guys or what this group was doing to all these girls that they were picking up. They were separating from their home, they were teaching them, they were kind of brainwashing them the whole time, and it was really cool. I mean, honestly, like I think we were talking about it leaving the movie. We're like probably one of the best intros to a Marvel movie, that we know, right? And so I really liked it so far to that part. And then it gets to basically where we're at now, and we did get a confirmation really early on that this was right before Infinity War.
Yeah, it's right after Civil War.
This is like right after Civil War. Yeah, it's like that gap between Civil War and Infinity. So, yeah, we kind of knew where we were.
When she was talking to Ross.
Yeah, because Thunderbolt Ross came.
But yeah, I mean, I think the opening sequence was great. I really one of the moments that stood out to me that I really liked was when they land the airplane that they escaped in. They land it and they're greeting them and saying like, oh, we got everything. Like, here's the floppy disk of information. And and
whatever it was.
The what is it? Whenever they're separating the girls, Natasha, young Natasha, she basically like takes this guy down, grabs his gun, and she's like, don't touch her, I'll kill you all. But she's like speaking Russian and stuff. It's like, it's so crazy that just even at that younger age, she was just so like on her toes and like just able to, kind of get some sort of authority in the situation she was in. And it was really cool.
That scene really, that scene really stood out to me too, especially like the what she was talking about earlier when Natasha finally realizes like what the fuck is going on, and she's like, oh my god, we're going back to the Red Room, and she tells her dad like, no, you can't fucking do this, like she's way too young, and the dad was like, you were even younger when you went. So like at this point she had already been to the Red Room. She had already undergone some sort of like, secret spy training and like some sort of psychological, mental shit. Like, because I mean, she took down that dude pretty fucking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit! Like,
if you notice, the thing that I remember that stood out was she did her signature like grapple flip, and I was like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh shit! There it is. There it is, dude.
But yeah, so that whole opening sequence was awesome, and I do think all the parts leading up to when the Red Guardian guy shows up, Alexei, whenever he shows up to the house and they're all having dinner, like all of that, it did feel like authentic like family, like they were playing in the by the jungle gym, they're looking at the fireflies, and they're having dinner and all that stuff, and then as soon as Alexei shows up, you kind of get that, like from that moment onwards, like the severity of what's going on is so intense, and it was so crazy to hear Alexei say like, oh, we've got like an hour, and she's just like, I don't want to go, and he's like, don't say that, and then they're like, all right, girls, we're gonna go on that adventure now, and then they just like leave the house, and like they were just having dinner. It was crazy just how quick and efficient they were at like getting out of there.
That intro was really cool to watch, because up until this point, like, we only have had like memories of what Natasha had went through, right? Like, this is her first like breakout solo movie, so like, her story is finally being told. So like, watching all of that was like really almost nerve-wracking for me, because I was like, oh shit, like, is this where they fucking take her, like, or do they give her away freely? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what does this dude have? Like, why are they chasing him down? Like, it
was really well done, because it makes you feel like she hasn't been taken yet. Like, it makes you feel like she was just hanging out, and then now this is where it's starting. But no, it had already started. She's just in it already. But yeah, I mean, I think in comparison, like, it's not as action-packed and it's not as long of a sequence, but honestly, another opening in a Marvel movie that like is on par with how I felt with this one was the beginning of Endgame, where Hawkeye's playing with his kids. Like that shit, it's impactful and like really strong opening, but in a different way, because it's like oh, we're just hanging out with the family. I'm teaching my girl how to shoot. And then like he turns around and you see dust in the air, and you're like, oh shit, you know, like and it really hits you, like
Because I think it's almost relatable, right? Because like they make you like they put these characters in situations that you would be like in, you know what I mean? Like just
Exactly.
chilling out with family. Like you're not some fucking like omnipotent being. You don't have superpowers, right?
Yeah.
It's just you and your regular normal family. I mean, obviously, Red Guardian in this movie had, you know, he was a super soldier, but like, you know, you didn't know that until like way later.
Yeah.
So it's like,
the only
oh,
only
shit,
little
like,
bit of that we get is when they're at the airfield. He like grabs that one like trailer and he like flips it out of the way.
flips it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
the
God damn.
train thing, yeah.
But yeah, so solid opening, and yeah, that just leads into the whole Thunderbolt Ross segment where he's talking to Natasha, just saying that like you attacked the king of Wakanda and you broke the accords, and they're coming after her. And I mean, it's a small section, but at least we got Ross back in the movie, and he's talking to her, and she's just saying like you look pretty desperate coming after me, like don't do this, blah blah blah. And then she ends up having her tracker placed in that building, and she's actually on some boat, like fucking like who knows where. And then she sure enough throws away the phone, and like that's what I mean is that there was a constant like feeling of she's just so good at staying away from it, from where she like where people want her, you know what I mean? Like she was always like aware and you know on her game when it comes to escaping certain scenarios, and the movie did a really good job at like portraying that.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I guess so. From there, we get to she meets. I don't remember his name. Really wasn't that big of a role in the movie, but he was a guy that was supplying her with the trailer that she was staying in and like some stuff that she needed. But she meets up with a friend that sets her up with a trailer to stay in, and she's basically just on the run for now, staying away from the government because she's a wanted criminal.
With Rick.
Yeah, and I think this is where we get the duality of like that's going on, but then we get to see her sister at this part of the movie where she's on a mission with some widows, and they're trying to hunt down a girl.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Solar, you want to take this part?
Yeah. So like, okay. So after she gets situated in her like temporary place, we get that flashback, and we see Elena chasing like with that. They're like on the rooftops of what is it, Morocco? I believe something.
Yeah, I think so.
Budapest. I think it was
Budapest.
No, that's
my guy.
I think,
Yeah,
well, that's where they
Budapest.
meet up, right? Black Widow and Yelena meet up at Budapest because she gets that letter saying for them to meet
Oh
up there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, getting a little to that. So I think they were in Morocco or something.
Yeah.
And they're chasing down this woman. You know, they got the sniper setups, and they get made out, and so they start chasing her. And you know, as she's going down, the woman they're chasing, they go down an alley. You know, she busts down the door, and bada bing, bada boom, stabs her. But you know, as she goes to like finish her off, the red what was it called? That red powder.
Yeah, it was like
essentially-
it was like anti what is
Widow
it?
mist.
Anti mind control.
Yeah.
Like
I think they just called it the dust or something. Essentially, yeah, like the red dust, which is we later find out is used to, you know, break them out of that mind control. Excuse me, because I had a burp. They break her. It breaks her out of the mind control, and then you know, as the woman's her last dying breath, she's just like, please save them, or essentially says, you know, free them all. This being the other widows who are under the mind control. So then Yelena like kind of stabs her leg, takes out a tracker, and then we get this scene to like where they're in the red room, and then they find out that she broke free from the mind control, and she's Rogue. Go terminate her. And then that's where we teleport back to Romanov in her isolated abode. And anyone else want to take this scene?
Yeah, she lost power, right? And I remember
Yeah.
she was like super tight about it later on. When she met that
Yeah.
meets up with her friend again, and she's like, dude, like you gave me a generator that lasted like 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's like,
But yeah, I mean, another part in that segment where she was when she got the trailer and the guy's like telling her like, "Oh yeah, you didn't give me much time or much, whatever." Um, there was even a moment in that section where there was like a noise like outside, or there was something that was happening in the woods, and she like you could see her, she like put her eyes up and she like looking out the window like super alert, and it's just like I don't know, I can't get over the fact that this movie did a great job of like someone who's always like someone's out there to kill me, like, and like they're just doing the best they can at staying alive and being perceptive of everything. But yeah, that whole mission with Yelena was really cool. Like the whole like first half of the movie is very like action, 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 or let's talk a little bit, action, 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 let's talk, and then it was like just constantly going and going, because even so we get the whole opening sequence, then we get the Ross section, and then we get her with the trailer, but then right after that we go into the Yelena stuff where she's taking down another widow, and the widow that's on the ground puts the little mist in her face, and then she kind of awakens from her mind control stuff, and she cuts out. It was so crazy how she like instantly cut out the tracker that was like implanted in her leg.
she knew.
Yeah, she like knew instantly, and then she just drops it and then moves on, and then she's on the run now basically, and she gets away, which is awesome. And then right after that action whole sequence, we find out that the box that Yelena was carrying got shipped to the bunker in Budapest that Natasha was known to be using, but then the guy, that her friend, brought it over to her after he meets up with her the next day. And so she has the box there. And like she kind of just doesn't even know what it is, because she's like, oh, I'm not going to look through this mail, like who cares. But yeah, after all that action sequence that they had with Yelena, we go straight into her leaving the broken down generator trailer, and then Taskmaster finds her out in this like, and it was so like out of nowhere. It was like she's just at this like intersection stop, and then just boom, her fucking car goes like flying across the damn bridge.
Yeah, I was definitely not like expecting to see Taskmaster there for the first time.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, like it caught me so. I actually jumped in my seat like when it happened.
But yeah, that was our the first instance with Taskmaster, and it was like, man, it was just so cool to see how the character, like, the presence of the, like, I don't know, people online, they have their opinions on the outfit, but I think it looked pretty damn cool.
It wasn't the first time we saw it, because the first time we saw Taskmaster was they were like, oh, we're gonna need to activate protocol Taskmaster, and like they're giving the Taskmaster the helmet, and the one of the widows like tells him to smile.
The smile, yeah.
Put his fingers on it.
Yeah,
and that was our first look at Taskmaster. I get it that it was our first look of Taskmaster going off, like
in combat,
doing an action scene, right? And yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool. I didn't have a problem with the outfit. I don't care outfits. I don't really care about when it comes to like a Marvel movie, because I know everyone's put their own spin on things. So I'm not like super like, like when Captain America comes out with this suit, like I don't really care, right? Iron Man comes out with his different suits, I don't really care, like it's not a major thing to me when it comes down to that. I thought the execution of the moves was really cool. How Natasha was doing her moves on Taskmaster, and then Taskmaster was doing the same.
Yeah, when they were fighting on the bridge. Oh, yeah, that shit was so
that
cool.
fight was sick. That fight was honestly really cool. Even though it was kind of brief, it was still cool, because his mission is to go get those red vials, like get it away from her. And you could tell like that Taskmaster was just focused on them. He was like, I don't even give a shit about Black Widow. I just want the vials. And so you can tell, because throws Black Widow to the side and just goes after the vials. And she knows, she's like, oh, he's going for that. So she basically tricked Taskmaster when he knocks her into the river and actually takes the vials, not the briefcase. But that was really cool. That whole fight sequence is really sick.
It was just sick because it was very like the intimidating factor of this like silent assassin was there. It was very like, you know, Bucky-esque in a way, and it also utilized both Captain America and Bucky's moveset in this fight scene. We get the knife
Yeah.
move, and then we get a whole bunch of shield stuff, and
I
I
think
think
the first thing was like when Taskmaster countered Widow's like the somersault flip, her signature somersault
Yeah,
flip with
yeah.
his own,
Yeah.
and then at that point it kind of really set the tone of like, oh shit.
yeah. And there's even that moment where they both do the little like flip to get back up on their feet. And then
Oh,
like
yeah.
Natasha's just looking at Taskmaster and she's just like, what the hell? And Taskmaster's just like, you can see through the visor, like it's analyzing like where's the best threat level of where to hit and stuff like that. But I think out of this whole sequence, the best part for sure was when Natasha shot the grapple to Taskmaster's leg, and then shot it up to the little rafter above, like the bridge rafter, and then as Taskmaster's going up into the air, they cut the cord and then ride it back down, and I was like, God damn, that's so fucking sick. That was like some Batman shit right there. But yeah, the ending of this fight was so crazy where Widow gets kicked against the car and then off into the fucking water. You see her body go like flipping and then into the water. I was like, damn, that's nuts.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't hate the costume.
Uh-huh.
I really, really don't. And I agree. I'm the same way as with Brawley. You know, it's not gonna be. Costumes are not gonna be 1-to-1. It is just not gonna happen. Like it can be as much as you want it to, but it's just not. The MCU is just gonna have its own way of like looking at the way these.
Unless you're
look.
Anthony Mackie and you've got the fucking Captain of Falcon suit, that shit is 1-to-1, like 100%.
Yeah, it's actually mad good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Taskmaster as a character was the biggest letdown for me in this whole movie, and it's honestly probably my only gripe with the movie is the character, because I felt like, without revealing too much, I felt like this, like Taskmaster as a character would have been a great way to like add a new cool almost anti-hero to the MCU universe, and it's like not exactly what I expected out of the
I
character.
know why they can't. I'm gonna answer this later, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna know.
I think I know where
know
you're going.
why
I
they
know where
can't
you're
do
going.
that. I know why they can't.
Like it's just when you're
I know what you mean.
yeah, so like it's fine at the end of the day. It's okay, you know, and I'll give my reasons why later. It's fine, right? But at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, dude, they made Taskmaster like some sort of like cyborg thing, and it's like it just like you're not at this point, you're not even like, it's not just, oh, the costume looks off. They literally redesigned the entire
The
character
character, yeah.
completely, and to me, I do not vibe with that. Like you can make the character look, sound, act however you want, but when you take the character and turn them into something completely different, that just doesn't vibe with me. And like I said, I actually like Taskmaster a lot. Master a lot in the Marvel like universe as a whole. He's one of my favorite like villains, especially because he's like reoccurring. He comes out all the time. His skill set is so crazy. Like I really, really enjoy that character. So seeing what they did to him in this movie was kind of a letdown for me. Again, I thought the costume was kind of dope. Like, I'm not even like, you know, shit talking on the whole like cyborg aesthetic. I thought that thing was kind of like, it was kind of sick, especially when they explain like, oh, you know, he copies everybody's moves. Like he's almost perfect. Like he's a perfect assassin, blah, 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 or whatever. I think that shit's cool. And I think that like, they definitely did do the whole how Taskmaster figures out how to copy other people was a neat idea, but I just didn't vibe with how like they how the character was presented to me was just so like I don't know.
Well, we'll definitely
It's
get
not-
into. We'll have a whole segment about how we all feel about Taskmaster. We'll lead up to it for sure. We got Void Gamer in the chat says, I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would. Had low expectations before watching, because I heard mixed reactions. But yes, Taskmaster was probably the worst part. Also, the logic is all over the place. But the movie was just so much fun. Reminds me of James Bond, and even then, had James Bond movie in the film, which is true. Yeah, and when her generator does break down, we do have her watching one of the James Bond films, which was pretty funny.
That was
I forgot which one
She's
it
like
is.
quoting along and
Yeah,
shit.
she's
yeah,
quoting
that
along
was,
with it.
That was cool.
But yeah, so we can get into Taskmaster soon enough. Let's just go over a little bit of the setup to the big reveal, and then we can have everyone can kind of go at what they feel about what they did with the character. But I guess the next section we can talk about is, so after Natasha gets away with the vials, she ends up finding a note in the in between the vial canisters, and the note is from Yelena saying that she's in Budapest at the place that she was staking out, and that's where the next huge action sequence is.
Along with the photo.
Along with the photo of them as kids. So just to kind of breeze by this whole segment, Natasha goes over, she meets with Yelena, and it was a little weird, but I guess it was just kind of like a widow initiation / feeling each other out or something. But they have a huge fucking brawl, and it reminded me of like a mixture. Solar brought it up too on the ride home, but it was like a mixture of like an action scene out of Atomic Blonde, but also a mixture of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they're just fucking up an entire house.
Yes.
And but then, and it's so funny because right after they start drinking, it's just like it's a very nice parallel. But yeah, it was an awesome scene. They're fighting each other with these like similar training, and they're kind of like toe to toe, and then it ends up in a truce with a chokehold that Natasha has over Yelena.
Did anybody else get this sense of they not that they hated each other, but there was definitely some sort of reasoning behind that? I don't think it was some sort of I think it was a little bit more than just some sort of initiation, especially because of the way they were kind of talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it vibed with you get angry with your boys, and I don't know if you've ever done this when you were younger, but I know I have, where you kind of have some beef with your boy, but it's not friendship ending beef, and you guys just kind of duke it out, and then afterwards you're like, all right, we're cool again. It gave me that kind of vibe.
I've had that.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, multiple times. So yeah, it's on par with that, I would say.
I don't know. I think it also comes down to the lives they lived and how separate it is, and for them to kind of come down. I don't think it was a sister thing. I don't think it was a family thing. I think it was more of hey, this girl's an Avenger, and I'm from the Red Room kind of thing, right? Or at least she thinks so. And so I don't know if I can trust this person or not. It has to deal with all the paranoia as well. You have to remember, this is Yelena's first few moments not being brainwashed.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really know. All she can really do is defend herself. And someone's breaking into her home or coming into her home or whatever, right? So she needs to fight. Even if it is Natasha. I had the first sentiments. I was like, okay, why is she fighting the person that she literally sent the stuff to? She must have sent it to her for a reason. And they kind of go over it saying oh, I thought you would take it to one of your Avenger friends so they can analyze it. But then why would you fight her? But I think it's more of a just if Natasha's coming in here, then she might want to take me in. So I gotta fight, because I don't know what her deal is. That's the only thing I kind of didn't like, is no one really tried to go for diplomacy. It was just kind of all right, we're gonna do this. All right, let's do this. And then
did we get an idea of how long it was from Yelena being
20 years?
free? That was 20 years.
Yeah, 21
years.
years. I know it's 21 years from whenever they were kids all the way leading up to where Ross was there with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, no. I'm talking about when Yelena was free to that point where she meets up with Black Widow.
I'm sure.
I think it was instant.
I'm sure it was within a week or something.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was instant. That was enough. To me, it felt you know what it felt like to me? It felt like one of those things where, one of those instances where, Natasha was a part of the Red Room and a part of this super secret spy syndicate deal, with her sister, and it seemed like her sister was hella jaded by the fact that Natasha decided to find her way out. Like it seemed like, especially because later on in the movie you find out that she or Natasha's sister was very like she felt like that family that was there was like a real family to her. You know what I mean? So she cared about her older sister. And for a person that grows up in the Red Room and all they have is each other, to see somebody that you think you're so close to, just decide to up and leave like that and then go be a part of the good guys, I feel like it was very, very like almost backstabby to her. So I feel like I super got that at first, because especially the way they were talking to each other when they were like hitting each other with these like little quips and shit. Like they were like shit talking each other the whole time.
Yeah, I thought that whole conversation was so funny because the clerk was just there like, okay, you guys are talking about killing people and shit. It was I was just sitting there and I was like, because even at the end of the sequence where Yelena walks out, like Natasha looks over at the clerk and she's just kind of like looks to the ground or something, and I'm just like, yeah. It was kind of awkward for that guy sitting there listening to all that, especially when she was like, "Oh, you do this pose where you put your leg out and you flip your hair back. You're such a poser."
That shit was so funny.
Yeah, I really think overall, I think Yelena's character was really cool. The actress who played her, I think her name's like
Godlike.
Florence something.
She stole the show for me. She's my
really
favorite.
Good. She was really good.
She was really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just the whole presentation of the character was so fucking amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think she stood out and she helped a lot with the moments where we were leading up to the next set piece. She did a really good job at being the companion to Black Widow.
I do want to say there was something that we didn't talk about, but that whole the I guess like the opening credits, right, where it shows like the actresses and the main actors and the actresses, and then like the Black Widow title card, right? That whole sequence was literally just videos, images, and like stills of them growing up and going through the Red Room.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was really cool to see, because we had never seen that before, so it was really dope to see. And I know it was fast, and like it was the images went by real quick and the videos went by real quick, but you still got kind of like an idea of what it was like for her, like what she had to go through, the training that she had to go through. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I want to go into it a little bit more as we get further into the plot, but something that Broly and I think we both agree that we kind of wanted from this movie and we walked away with it without really getting an answer to it all is throughout all the Marvel movies that Black Widow's been in, which has been a bunch of them, we're always like we get little cookie crumbs of her, like dialogue with Loki, her dialogue with Bruce, and all these different characters. About her upbringing, about her past, and when you get this standalone Black Widow movie, I for one, that's why everyone was questioning it. I was like, where are they gonna place this movie, at what era, what time frame? And it's because I wanted to know like about those harsh days in the Red Room, and like
me too.
I wanted more moment. I kept talking to myself. I kept saying, what would be so cool? And obviously, if you guys have seen any of our past discussions, my favorite Marvel hero is Winter Soldier. And in the comics, Winter Soldier actually does go and do a training sequence in the Red Room as the Winter Soldier. And I thought that we would get moments like that, or just any sort of like, I guess, situations or trials or like hardships while she was young in the Red Room, but we really didn't. The movie didn't really go in there, and I can go into that more when we get further down the plot. But the small moments that we did get, like you said, like in the beginning, the quick intro with the different stills and images, it was pretty much as we did get from her youth in the Red Room. But yeah, so basically the next big action sequence is after their fight in Budapest. They are tracked and followed by the widows that are currently being controlled, And I've been gushing over the fact that the movie did a great job with making Natasha feel like she's a master of being on the run, and doing really well with that stuff. But another thing that the movie did that really really well, that it was just sprinkled in throughout dialogue and like small segments in the movie. But I loved that Natasha is an Avenger now. And everyone keeps stressing to her, like, oh, you're an Avenger, you're a superhero, you're on the cover of a magazine. But Natasha also understands that she put that life of killing and all this blood in her past, like, behind her. So we get small remarks, like when they steal that guy's car, she's like, oh, you can't just steal a car. And then she's like, what do you want me to do, like return it to him? And then also when the widow that's following them falls from the chimney thing that falls over, she tries saving her, and then she falls, and then even after she falls, she walks up and she's like, you're okay, like, we're gonna get you out of this. And then the widow, Drakovich, he ends up making the widow kill herself, which was crazy. The effect on her face and the gauntlet, like, shocking her brain away or something like that. Like the whole, like, left side of her face was all charred, and her eye was like whited out. And I just really enjoyed that the movie also showed that Natasha's come a long way with wanting to help people, wanting to save people, and be a hero, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole sequence leads up to Taskmaster showing up once again, and this time utilizing Hawkeye's bow skill to bomb the bottom of a car. And while the first part where Natasha's car got bombed or got like hit by a rocket in the earlier section of the movie where she was about the bridge and fought Taskmaster the first time, this is one of the parts of the movie that was rough, because you really had to kind of just sit there and be like, okay, this is a superhero movie. We got to believe that they just lived through this car flipping 15 times.
Yeah, you really got to suspend your disbelief there.
That shit was insane. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, when the car flipped and slid into the fucking subway or whatever the fuck, I was like, okay, come on, like there's no way.
It was like it got hit by the bomb arrow, and then it flipped like 15 times and then straight into the subway like walkway all the way down into the station. And I was like, god damn. I was like, and they just get out, and I think Yelena had like a wounded arm, and she was just like, oh, let me wrap it up. And she's like, no, not here, trust me. And then they lead Taskmaster down to this, like, I guess gutter or this like sewage opening that had a hatch over it.
The hideout in the subway?
So they're hiding out in the upper like ventilation shaft of the subway, but they led the blood trail to this sewer hatch that Taskmaster ends up jumping down to try to like find them. And it's cool because, you know, Natasha says like, oh yeah, me and Barton stayed in here for like 2 or 3 days. And you can see up on the walls there's like Hangman and like Tic-Tac-Toe from when they played, I guess when they were bored. But yeah, it was just another way of them escaping the situation. But Taskmaster again, very, very menacing throughout all of this. Like the shield throw from the top of the subway walkway all the way down. And then it like goes through that like pillar or whatever.
The way it slid down that escalator,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it was like
What a
like a
throw.
curved like shield throw. It was like the Taskmaster tossed it. It went and like ramped off of the little middle support area of the walkway, and then it went straight down like right above Black Widow. And it was like super intense. And like I said, just every time Taskmaster was on the screen for the first like 3/4 of the movie was just super commanding presence, which was really cool.
Yeah, I really like the chase scene. Yeah, I like the dialogue between the sisters. Especially like, you know, when Yelena kind of like questioning like Natasha, you know, why didn't you come for us? Why weren't you looking for me or the family at all? And she just gave really bad reasons, and she kept questioning like, oh, are you sure Dreykov is dead? Like, are you sure? Did you see a body? Like, you don't know then, right? So like,
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like, I really like that aspect.
Yeah, we learned a lot, and we also understand why all this time like the widows were still a thing was because Black Widow thought that the Red Room was done. They thought that they had completed it. They thought that Drakovich was dead and all this stuff, but instead they got away. And they've been under the radar from all the different major players. And I think Yelena even says it herself. She's like, why do you think we've been so silent throughout all this time? It's because we don't want to attract the attention of the big ones. And she's like, Natasha's like, oh, what do you mean? And she's like, oh, well, you know, the space god from the sky guy, like, he's probably someone who would probably kick our ass. So it's cool that we have that sort of grounded, like, you know, quote unquote power scaling within the tiers of villainy in the world. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's what makes this movie shine a lot too, is that we had a lot of, like Goss said earlier, we had a lot of relatable stuff with the character moments, and then we also had it's a very grounded plot piece, because it's about humans, it's about human trafficking, it's about, you know, these girls being taken, and it's there's no superpowers, I mean, nothing crazy, and it's all just about, you know, humans and trying to live and stuff like that.
All mind control and stuff, which I kind of wanted to go back real quick, and you know, because you know how like they fall off that chimney silo looking thing, and you know, right before she gets mind control to terminate herself, I think, if I remember correctly, she was just like, I don't want to do this, or something like that, where you kind of like see where she regains a bit of her like own consciousness, I guess, maybe just due to the sheer amount of stress or something. But like, it kind of reminded me of how, like, you know, I think they're all like aware that they're being mind controlled, and like they have no power over it. It kind of reminded me of like how in WandaVision, where, like, you know, when Vision releases that one guy from the place he's working, and then he's like, please help me, oh my god, I can't take it anymore.
I think his name was like Norm or something.
It reminded me of that.
I definitely agree. It was one of those, like, it was a split second where, yeah, she's under mind control, and yeah, like, they're commanding her to kill herself, but it was like the human emotion, or like the capacity that she had in her brain to like fight the brainwashing was there for just a moment, saying like, I don't want to do this, and then she ends up killing herself.
It gave me that same vibe.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I 100%, like, I don't know about you guys, and especially you guys, I don't know, but this movie definitely had me in some moments where I was like about to fucking cry. like I'm not gonna.
Yes,
like
what?
the heartstrings were being tugged like hard, and there's especially this one part for sure that I'll talk about later, but yeah, man, like it was things like that where you really felt like this kind of like human emotion really resonate with you. At least me, I felt that for sure, where I was like kind of getting a little, you know, my bottom lip was quivering a little bit.
There was so many things that were just humanized, where like just down to the emotion, to the fight scenes, and that's where I drew the comparison to like Charlize Theron and Atomic Blonde, where like when the sisters were fighting each other, if you felt the punches and kicks being delivered, I was like, God damn, it's raw.
Yeah, it's all the like really, really, really big heartfelt scenes in this movie were so like, I don't know, man. Like, it felt like I felt their like the family issues, you know what I mean? And it was like, damn, like it was like, oh wow, like that's. Wow, it's like I said, like it the movie feels very relatable because the characters in the movie, aside from Red Guardian, they're all humans. They don't have powers. They don't have like, they have a fucking crazy skill set, and they're, you know, highly trained assassins or whatever. But like they bleed and they get in pain just as much as any other human being on this planet does, and the emotions that they have and that they go through are relatable because they're human emotions. They're not like they're not people from different planets and have different emotions for different situations than normal humans do, or they're not like demigods, so like they don't give a shit, you know what I mean? Like it's just like,
even when Vash pointed out how like right after the sisters fought, you know, zoomed in on Black Widow's back, and like she's all bruised, and kind of saw the look on Yelena's face where she was like, "Oh god damn, she's not immortal."
Yeah. And yeah, and we even get. I think it happens during. It's either during the Budapest, right after the Budapest fight, or it was during the gas station stop. They Black Widow says to Yelena, she basically says like, "We're not sisters. It was all fake and stuff." And you can see Yelena's face kind of like stare to the side, and like to her, she was just like, "No, we are." Like, I remember those days of us being kids, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like
It
we
was, it was
mentioned.
real for her. It was
Yeah,
real
it was
for
real
her.
for her. But I guess we can segue this and we can kind of speed past the next section here. But the next form of action that they decide is Yelena and Widow are going to take down the Red Room together somehow. They don't know where it is. They don't know how to get to it. They don't know how they're going to do it by themselves, but they're going to do it. And the next form of action is to find the Red Guardian, Alexei, because that's their best bet of knowing. Well, at least they think that that's their best bet of knowing how to find the Red Room. And so we end
Yeah,
up
because
finding.
according to them, they said that he was like the right hand man.
Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was like the guy that got stuff done for Drakovich.
Yeah.
And so
I think his name's Draco.
Draco,
Dreykov.
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 All right, Dreykov. We'll go with Dreykov for now. But yeah, so we get to this scene where he's in jail. He's been in jail for about like 4 or 5 years, I think, or maybe even more. And he's just showing off. He's making up all these stories, and I thought it was funny because he's making up all these stories about how him and Captain America would tussle. But we know the MCU version that didn't really happen because Cap went under ice, and so there wasn't any of those stories. He's just making shit up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, even that one guy, one of the, because he's sitting at a table telling this like long this long story about his tussle with Captain America, and as he's doing this, these other prisoners are like coming up to him, like trying to challenge him for
an arm wrestle.
like to arm wrestle, and then there's one dude who comes up and he says, "How can you have fought Captain America if he was under ice?"
Yeah, and then
and
he
then
breaks
that's
his
when
fucking arm.
Yeah, he breaks his arm.
That whole part was so funny because he's just like, oh, he's like, does it hurt? And he's just like, I don't know. He says he gets up. He's like, don't be a bitch or something like that. But
The shit talk was real.
yeah, Alexei's
Yeah.
character, he was definitely the premium example of a lovable idiot. Like 100%, like just this fucking asshole, like stupid dumbass. But it's like he had this charm to him that was just like he was just funny about it. But like
Second favorite character.
yeah. What was
I was really surprised, to be honest. And I know, again, this is kind of like another tangent off, but like the actor who played Red Guardian, I mean, he's also the same guy from, Stranger Things.
yeah.
And seeing him go from like a big TV show or like a big TV series on Netflix to like the screen was kind of cool, like especially in like a Marvel setting.
Mhm.
Like he actually fit very well. Like he played the character extremely well, and it made the character likable for me. And I was really surprised because I was actually afraid that he wasn't going to be able to pull it off, but he did, and I was really surprised.
Yeah, something I want to quickly track back to that RXB pointed out in the chat. During their discussion, Natasha and Yelena, they do discuss that Yelena asks how Natasha got out of the Red Room and all that stuff. And that's where we learn that her way out was striking a deal with S.H.I.E.L.D. and getting a job with S.H.I.E.L.D. was basically setting up Draco's daughter to be killed as collateral for, taking him down as well.
Yeah.
And so we find out, obviously that Black Widow also has some demons with her choices.
Some
in
blood
life.
on her hands.
Some blood on her
Yeah.
hands, and so they strapped a bomb to this girl's backpack, I guess, and she gives the call that she's in the building with her dad and all that stuff, and then it collapses, and that's what makes Widow believe all these years that the Red Room was done for, was because of that moment, and so. Thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so we get to Alexei. Widow and Yelena are trying to break Alexei out of prison. They send a action figure of the Red Guardian to him, and in the headpiece there's a there's an earpiece in there that he puts on, and they're just talking to him, saying like, "Hey, go to the left room, don't cause a scene." And of course, he starts beating up some guards, and the red alert goes off, and he's breaking down doors and shit. And it leads to a huge action sequence, which once again, same thing like with the car and the subway. We get another moment where there's Yelena's flying this helicopter, and you got like 50 different people
Yeah, you
shooting.
really gotta like suspend your disbelief on that.
Because she basically puts this shitty ass helicopter that they got from her friend on autopilot while it's getting shot by a 50 cal like fucking huge ass turret that's like pop pop pop, like shooting into the side of the wall of it, the door. And she goes back and grabs like some random rocket launcher from the back and shoots the turret down, while avalanche happens right after. So it's like huge action set piece around this prison, because it's in this like tundra ice like hideaway, and the avalanche comes down, and it's a race against time because the avalanche is gonna wipe everybody out down there. And of course, it's like the last second from the end of the rope, Alexei and Natasha, like, she reaches down and catches him, and they ride off.
What a cool way to die.
Yeah, what a cool way to die.
Yeah.
That's where Yelena really shines through, because she has these quips, she has these moments where she's being funny, and for her, it's like, I finally have free will, so I'm like just living right now, finally doing what I want. And
Dude, that whole awkward conversation of like, you know, essentially period talk, that I was laughing the whole time.
Yeah,
I could not,
we instantly get a feel of like where they stand with Alexei, because he shows up and he thinks he's like the pride and joy, and he's like, "Oh, my girls are here and they saved me," and you know, "Oh, you're so, you know, strong," and "Oh, my daughter Natasha, an Avenger," you know, like he's like hyping him up. But then he's also like dismissing the fact that he kind of like mentally fucked with them.
He's the one that sent them away.
Yeah, he sent them away and caused all of their, you know, hardships to happen, basically. And then yeah, he basically said like Yelena punches him right in the face because she's already getting pissed with him, and he's just like, "Oh, what's with all the, like, you know, aggression? Like, are you on your time of the month?" And she goes into fucking detail about what they did to them, and she's like, "Oh, they go all the way up in there and they rip it out and all that." Like,
he's like,
I was dying of laughter.
Like, okay, I don't need to hear it anymore. And she's like, okay, good, because I was about to get to the part about the fallopian tubes, and I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, you can already see like how much they detest this guy, because if initially he just comes off like no remorse, no sort of like any sort of emotion about what he probably put them through, and he has no idea like how mentally fucked they've been because of this like upbringing that they thought they had, and that it was fake. And so they instantly find out that he really doesn't have information other than the location of their fake mom. And he says that that she might have more information because she's basically the big, you know, brain, and he was the brawn of the whole operation for most of it. So I guess Goss, you want to take a point on this one?
What was her name? Melina?
Yeah, I think Melina is her name.
Yeah, she actually, you know what? I haven't seen that actress either in a long time. And if
Rachel Weisz?
Dude, I haven't seen her in a long time. I don't know where she's from, to be honest. Constantine.
Real quick off tangent, like, I mean, her in The Mummy. Oh my god.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was in The Mummy. She's in the Constantine.
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in a hot minute, so seeing her return to like the movie screen was pretty fucking cool. Yeah, so they like they end up like they're like they find out like that actually Red Guardian wasn't the one that was like closest to Darkov, that it was actually the wife who was like the scientist, the brains behind like the operations, and that she had a closer connection to him than the Red Guardian did, than Alexei did. So they go to her house, and I remember like they that's right, they're she's like, I don't think we have this is when what's her name is like, I don't think we have enough fuel to get to where we're going. I can't remember where it was. and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll get there." And then like literally the next scene is like the helicopter flying out of the
Coming
sky.
down.
Like, it's literally falling out of the sky, and
Yeah.
they start walking, and she's I can't remember her name. Is it I want to say Yolanda. I don't know why. Natasha's sister.
Yelena, or
Yelena?
Yelena.
Yeah,
We only said her
Yelena,
name 50
Yelena.
times, guys.
I'm sorry, Yelena. She's like, "Are we there yet?" And Alexi's like, "No, but you'll know when you hear. You'll know when you're there when you hear the." And he does like the pig noises or
Yeah.
whatever. And so like the next scene is like these pigs that are going through like a maze outside, and you see the mom out there, and she like hears something or sees something, and she immediately goes and like gets a fucking like 50 cal sniper, and is like, "Yo, I gotta see what the fuck is
Yeah,
going
what's
on."
going on out here?
So she sees them coming down a mountain, and you know the family reunites. Obviously, it's not on like, and you could tell that like, and she doesn't say anything. Like, she seemed real. It actually, I thought she was gonna like break down and cry. Like I expected some like huge emotional
Yeah.
something from her, but she was actually real. Like she saw them. Alexi was like, "Oh, my wife. Oh, I can't. You look at our daughters. We're all here." And she's like, "Okay, come inside. Like, hurry the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, she
we
was
don't
like,
got.
"Oh,
We don't
make
got.
yourself at home." Blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was being
I don't
very.
got time."
I think a cool dynamic that just hit me right now that's really interesting is that all four of them basically just wouldn't show their like how they really felt. It's a really cool dynamic because when we first meet Melina, like well, not first meet her, but when we see her again and she's at this like pig farm, she like initially when she's talking about like how she was so proud of making this like sort of like uh brainwashing technique and all this other shit, like you just look at her and you're like, man, she's a monster. Like she's literally like a horrible human. Because she's just talking about how these people are just things, and that we figured out the best method of controlling free will. And but you know, earlier in the film when they're having the family dinner, and then Alexi says, "Oh, it's time for the adventure," and Yelena gets up and they leave. You can see she looks across the table to young Natasha, and she's like, "I'm so sorry."
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so like there's this deeper understanding that all of them like loved this fake life that they had.
Because Natasha knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like Natasha
Yeah.
knew that they were leaving because they're basically either compromised or they're just done with the mission or something. But I just think it's like it's such a cool dynamic that each of these four family members, like they all had a deeper like they loved that part of their life, and they're just like, well, it was a job. It's a job. I'm gonna convince myself it was a job, and I'm not gonna have emotion towards it, but that because emotion's weakness or whatever. But they really did care, and they really did love that moment. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I gotta say, RXB in the chat says that yeah, that scene where he's like, oh, we'll make it to with the helicopter, and then Yelena's like, okay, and then like the next scene that just plops into the field.
Yeah, that
It's
shit was so funny.
It's so yeah, it's such a good like comedic timing with just like it's like it's a shot of like an empty field and then like a road, and then it's just like like it just fucking
Yeah.
it's so good. But yeah, so we get a really awkward family dinner. Yelena again, this was another part of the film where it was very emotionally driven.
Emotional.
Like I felt
Yes.
really sad because you could see in Yelena's face that she was like breaking apart from her mom and her fake mom and dad saying like none of it mattered, and even Natasha saying like, oh, I don't like, I don't give a shit, you're not my family. And it's like you can
It was
see
all real to her.
it was real to her, and you can see it in her face, and she's just like in shambles about it, and then she just gets up and leaves, and yeah, this basically is the segue point from the meeting of everybody and finally gathering everybody, all the players, to finding the Red Room. And I thought it was pretty. It was funny because when I was sitting, me personally, when I was sitting and watching this whole part unfold, where Natasha's looking over the old picture book that Melina saved, and Alexi's talking to Yelena in the other room. I was thinking, I was like, there's a lot of time from the moment Melina says, "Oh, I alerted the Red Room. They're gonna be here like soon," and then we don't see them again, and Alexi's having his big talk with Yelena in the other room. I was like, I know something's happening here. Like there has to be some plan that Widow's doing. And the next scene we get is Widow on the floor, and Melina basically took over. And in my head, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure they swapped or something, or like maybe Widow's fake being knocked out to find out where this Red Room is. But then I was like, there's no way they swapped outfits. But sure enough, they fucking did, because the whole plan was they used the face changer technology that was first seen in Winter Soldier movie, and so Widow is posing as Melina, and Natasha's character is actually Melina, and so yeah, that was her way of getting into the Red Room and finding out where it was, because they weren't gonna find it on their own or even get close to being able to access the area. Unless they were being taken as captives. And so, Broly, you want to take this point about basically this whole rundown of when they first get to the Red Room?
Well, basically, yeah, like they do the whole family thing, and we get the dad talking to Yelena and kind of like consoling her and saying like, oh, we're kind of telling her a story. It's supposed to be comedic, but
I thought it was very comedic when because it panned away from he went in there and she was like, what is she was like, I came in here because I wanted to be alone, and he was like,
right? Yeah.
And he was like, fine, I'll just sit here. And you could already tell that he was gonna annoy her somehow, and that's when it goes to the shot of Melina and Black Widow talking, and they're looking at the scrapbook, and then they go back to them talking in the bedroom, and he's going on about some story about something, I don't know what, he's just saying something that's has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
And she gets mad because she's like, what is that? Was this a scene where she's like, what does that have to do with anything? And he's like, fathers.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Can I just say real quick? I kind of just want to also go back, just talk about Yelena's character and how the other moment where she was super humanized. It was, come on, guys, the vest.
Yeah. In the car where she's like, this is the first piece of clothing I bought, and it's really cool, and it has pockets.
And it has pockets. I was like, at that part, I was just like, wow, she really I don't know, it really made me like her more, and I was just like, yeah, I like her. She's cool.
Yeah. No, I like the human element that they tried portraying with her, and it's kind of plays to the fact that the dad is trying to, say, hey, look, I fucked up. I'm the one that put you in this hole. Let's kind of fix it, and they never really get to do it.
They do end up singing that song together, and that kind of wins her over just for a moment.
Oh, that
right, yeah.
I almost cried. I legit almost cried. I swear to God. Oh my God,
that part was really, it was really something. But we do get, that kind of that kind of, father-daughter thing that she kind of yearned for. She really wanted that for herself, and I think it was good because, the whole time she's just kind of I need something to be able to, I don't know what the words I'm trying to find. But basically, they got their little pairing thing that they needed. And so, they do that. The basically the widows come in and take over and take the whole family. He takes one dart. It's like, oh no, this is nothing. And then they shoot him with 10 more darts.
It was very Ace Ventura
Yeah,
oh, this is nothing.
I got that same feeling from that. Ace Ventura, yes.
And they do the whole, they take them to their base, which is up in the sky, which was kind of crazy. It makes sense, but there's a lot of parts of this movie that you can nitpick, and you could be like, well, why is it in space? And why couldn't someone from SHIELD know, and blah, whatever, right? But They have this place up in sky. That's why nobody can find them on the ground, and so they take them to the base. And you see Melina walking and basically reporting to Dreykov that they're captured, and he's telling her, "I'll kill the young daughter because she betrayed us and she betrayed she's a traitor to the widows." I don't know what he talks about the Red Guardian. I don't think he cared. He doesn't really say anything. And then he's like, "What are you gonna do about Natasha?" And he's like, "Natasha, well, I'll just put one of those mind control chemicals in her, and I could see it in her eyes." And this is kind of like the big reveal, because he kind of knows.
Yeah.
Because like you've seen whenever you see the eyes of a child that you raise, you can never forget them. And so he knows that that's Natasha.
Yeah.
And so Natasha takes off the mask. It's really her. And
Taskmaster's in the room the whole time.
And
He
Taskmaster's
almost
there,
attacked
right?
her. He almost attacked her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, no, don't worry. And so he basically shows his big plan and says, he reveals who Taskmaster is, and Taskmaster ends up being his daughter. It was actually, and so I'll get to that point. Well, I'll debate you on this.
Yeah, we're gonna
But
have a
agree
big
with
one.
you. I would have a big point about this, Gus. Don't worry. And so it ends up being Antoinette, which because I think his real name is Tony in the comics. So kind of like spins it to be him being a girl, and she's kind of burnt, like her face is blown off.
Let me point out real quick. We have someone in the chat, Task 360. They said that they haven't really kept up with Marvel stuff since Endgame, but I'm guessing Taskmaster is their favorite character. And so they said, "I haven't seen the movie yet. Just tell me, did they fuck up my boy?"
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
they didn't.
Yes.
No, they didn't. They turned into a girl, so you're fine, right?
No.
Your boy is fine. They turned into a girl.
Your boy's fine. It's different.
No,
Your boy is
it's not
fine.
fine.
Look, okay,
It's
look,
not
look,
fine.
look. Here,
Hey,
no,
not
here.
fine.
I'm just gonna.
Let me end.
Okay, go ahead.
So okay. Long story short, basically, Natasha can't attack Dreykov. She's confident. She's kind of like, why are you so confident? You just sent your only weapon to defend yourself.
Yeah, he sends Taskmaster out the room after the reveal because he knows that there's rats in the basement, which is the Red Guardian and Yelena and Melina.
And so he sends her there, and so she tries to attack him, and she can't because there's like a chemical that's basically, it's kind of like you can't attack your
The pheromone.
kind of like that sense, right?
Yeah, he said that my pheromones are like a thing that is implemented with all widows where they can't inflict harm on him.
Right. So that's a thing, and she's kind of like, oh, okay, and it's kind of getting to her, like in her mind. She's like thinking about it. He's telling her plan. The cool thing was Vash was the one that was like, oh, she's pulling. And so
Wait,
I
hold
was
on,
just
you
kinda
cut
like,
out. What'd you say?
I was like, that you called out that he was pulling a Loki.
Yeah,
Avengers
so
one.
in this part of the movie, Natasha finds out that she can't attack him, and then he starts going on this monologue about his plan and what he has of what control over the world, and he shows all the girls around the world that he has captured, and Natasha's facing the screen, and I leaned up to both Solara and Broly in the movie, and I was like, she's pulling a Loki right now, and then Broly looked at me, he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, she's playing dumb, and she's gonna turn around and be like, well, thank you for telling me, and she's figuring out what to do to stop him. And sure enough, it was really well done. Again, like she played the part well, because the whole pretending to attack him moment, she played all of that. She was basically like, I know I can't hurt him right now because Melina told me. And
spoiler alert, she knew the whole time.
Yeah,
She knew the whole time.
she knew that she couldn't attack him, and so after he reveals the plan and she sees in the drawer that he uses his ring to unlock the little touchpad that was there, they have this whole set, because don't get me wrong, Dreykov, he was a very menacing and like slimy evil human, like they did a really good job of making this guy feel like the fucking scum of the irredeemable earth, like horrible
Yeah.
guy. And like
Yeah.
the first thing he does, he like raises his hand like he's gonna smack her, and she flinches because like again, well, one, she's playing it off into like winning him over and like making him feel confident. But then there's also this whole other section where she's literally saying like, oh, you hit like a fucking bitch, like you can't that's as hard as you can hit me, like I don't care. And he's just like smacking her and like punching her and kicking her on the ground, and she just gets up and she's like smiling at him, and it's just making him so fucking pissed. And she's just working her method, like that's her expertise, is just making people talk. And it was a really good scene.
Yep. Little do we know that she was just goading him the whole time to try to, because what Melina had told Natasha was that, oh, well, you can't attack him with the pheromone, but if you break, what is it, the nerve?
Yeah, sever
Like,
the nerve.
Yeah.
Sever the nerve, you know, that pheromone won't affect him. So she's trying to goad him the whole time into trying to, you know, have him punch her to sever the nerve. And, you know, once we find out that he apparently hits like a girl, she just slams her head on the desk.
Yeah, that
and
shit
then
was dude.
breaks
Fucking Black Widow
herself.
goes hard, dude. She didn't. She was just like, well, I thought you would break it, but I guess I'll have to do it myself. And she just like, boom, like fucking face first straight into the desk, and you see her nose gets broken, from that action.
Like
but
Owen Wilson style.
yeah, Owen Wilson knows. Fucking Mobius knows out of nowhere. and then yeah, she's able to hit him now. So she just fucking smacks him, like punches him real fucking hard over the desk, and like basically takes control of the room. But not for too long, because he ends up calling the other widows to show up. And so he manages to get away. He leaves the room by saying like, oh, make her suffer a little bit, but yeah, finish her or whatever. And so we there's like at least like, I don't know, 11 widows that show up. And not gonna lie, Black Widow kind of held her own for a bit. She was kind of like running the show in the room. She had her little like wrist bracer, like electric shots or whatever, and she was holding them back. And Goss, you can take point on what happens from here on.
Okay, where?
We're basically the widows show up. Drakov leaves the room
In Dracov's office. Yeah.
and
Okay.
she's just holding her own in the room.
Okay, yeah. So there is a scene where you find out where well, it's kind of like a cutaway scene where you find out where they're keeping Yelena.
Yeah.
And she's like tied up on a chair or like on a table, and it looks like she's gonna get like
her
her
brain fucking
her
like
brain out, yeah, or something, because you could see when they reveal who Taskmaster actually is, and it's Dracov's daughter. She has like a chip in the back of her neck that he basically said, like, I needed, like, in order for me to make her who she is, I needed to implant this chip in the back of her neck, so she's able to do what Taskmaster does, which is my biggest issue with Taskmaster.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. I already have the perfect counter.
Okay,
I already have the perfect counter, but go ahead.
Okay, yes. So this is where you find out, this is how Taskmaster becomes Taskmaster. It's this little chip that he implanted in the back of her neck. And it looked like that was going to be the same procedure that Yelena was going to get. And even when she's laying on the table, like, she looks to the camera, like towards the camera's angle, and she's like, now this is a really crappy way to die.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But basically, you find out that she has a mic, or she has a
Earpiece.
an earpiece, and that the mom reaches out to her and tells her, like, hey, you've got a knife in your
right pocket.
or in your belt or something, right? Like, you got, and she's like, what? And that's when they turn, and like the people that were gonna operate, they like turn and look at her, and she's like, what are you gonna do to me?
And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so she finally gets the knife out of her, wherever she had it in her suit, and she breaks free and kills all the people that were gonna operate on her. So she breaks out, and she's traversing the red room, the giant facility or whatever. Also, this leads into another scene that I like, the running joke with the whole
The 3-point landing, the
Natasha,
superhero landing.
yeah, superhero landing, and she actually does it.
Yeah,
And then like
that was
the
fun.
moment she does it, she gets up and she's like, "Oh, that was so gross."
Yeah, she like cringes at
Yeah.
it, and she's just like, oh no.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh God, no! It was gross. I didn't like it. How disgusting or something. I don't
Yeah.
know." What she said. And then I did want to go ahead and point out one scene that we kind of skimmed over was when Red Guardian and Natasha or quote unquote Natasha, right? Because it's actually not her. It's yeah, and he's over there like monologuing to her about how much that it actually meant to him for her being a daughter
Yeah,
of
that
his.
he cried and stuff.
Yeah. He's like, I actually cried for like a long time when they took you away and stuff like that. And
I don't know if
she's
it's
like, I don't know.
I don't know if it's
Yeah, go ahead.
confirmed, but I saw. I think it was on Twitter. Someone pointed out that on his arms, he actually has their names tattooed on them.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, like I think it's on his on the inside of his bicep or something.
Oh, we're gonna have to go back and look at.
Yeah, but I can't confirm that. I just read that, but they said that that both Yelena and Natasha's name were on there. But
That's cool.
But yeah,
But yeah, so like
go ahead.
they're having this he's having this like whole monologue, and then he's like, we're never gonna get out of here, like he's all sad, and then like the door opens and like slides across his face, which I thought was like hella hilarious.
Yeah.
And then like the realization that the door was open, and he's like, how did this happen? And she's like, well, I designed everything, like, and then that's when she takes off the mask and you realize that it's actually Melina and not Natasha. And then there's this whole monologue which I thought was hilarious because we brought up the earpieces. There was this whole like little semi like argument, I guess, between him and Melina because he didn't have an earpiece.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, why didn't I get an earpiece? And he's like, well, we only had one earpiece, we couldn't give you one.
And it was great because he tried monologuing the same thing into an earpiece that wasn't there, and she's just like, no, you don't have one. That's what I meant. It was just like a lovable idiot. Like he's just a fucking moron, and he's just stupid and insulting at times. But it's just like
It was so hard to hate him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he instantly went from like being released from this like prison cell to like he had his hand over his ear and was like trying to monologue the same exact thing that he said earlier, but then like Melina stops him and she's like, you don't have earpiece, like you don't. There's nothing in there.
We missed that also at the dinner table when he's talking to her and he's just like, oh, you look like you haven't aged a day, and I've been in prison a long time and I have a lot of energy.
She's like, don't do that.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you've gotten fatter, but still good.
Natasha was like, please don't do that here. Don't do that here.
All right, I guess. Okay, so yeah, we Natasha gets away because Yelena shows up with the red flask with a flashbang or something that she throws up, and it makes all the widows break out of their mind control. And so this leads into the whole climax of the movie, and we'll go into that. But we can talk about Taskmaster now. Let's just get it over with. I actually want to start with Solara, and then we'll move into Goss. Goss kind of went on a tangent earlier, so I'll let Brawley go after, and then we'll go from there. But
well, I mean, I honestly don't have much to say because I didn't really have an affiliation with Taskmaster. Like, honestly, because I wasn't really into the comics as a kid. Like, literally, the first time I ever heard of Taskmaster or looked into it was like because of Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
I knew you were gonna say that.
So I honestly, you could just skip over me because I have nothing to say.
Well, I guess we'll go to me.
But like, how do you feel about the character? Like, you know what he was in Marvel 3, and then you see this in the movie. How do you feel about that?
I mean, to be honest, I don't see that they could take it anymore because it was a film that's technically shoehorned, which, in my honest opinion, I think should have taken place of Captain Marvel. Like, Captain Marvel and this movie should have been swapped. But I don't know. I thought she was cool, but the whole reveal that it was the daughter was just kind of like It didn't really like wow factor me. I was just like okay. It is what it is.
For me, I'm similar to Solara, where my history with Taskmaster, it's not through Marvel versus Capcom. I actually my first time getting to know Taskmaster at least a little bit was I played Marvel Heroes, and then it became Marvel Heroes Omega. But in Marvel Heroes, you could find this item. It was like VHS tapes, and if you watch the cutscene, it was a VHS tape of Taskmaster basically saying like, "Hey, you want me to train you and become the greatest superhero like this guy or like this girl? Like I am better than all of them, and if you want to learn to be the best like me, then hire me and I'll teach you." And like so, that's where I first learned of his character, was through Marvel Heroes, and so I've always assumed that he was kind of like he was one of those characters that was like, whoever's paying me, I'm gonna be on their side, and usually he was on the bad side.
Yes.
And so to me, yeah, he seemed like a character that was a little cocky, a little like just in your face, and very very just confident guy, and so this whole movie, him being silent and him being presented in a more like I'm a weapon, I'm a robot sort of deal, was different, and it wasn't what I expected, at least coming from Marvel Heroes. But I also know, from past experiences, and also from, just how the Marvel Universe treats certain characters, I know that this Marvel Universe has characters that are this version of the character. They're like, yeah, the comics do this, and yeah, the comics do that. But for us in the cinematic universe, this is how we're going to handle Red Skull. We're not going to have Red Skull be trying to take over the world multiple times. We're going to have him teleport away and guard the Soul Stone. We have characters like Quicksilver, who's dead right now, and
Rest in peace.
and the way Ultron was created was different, and like there's some things about Star-Lord that are different. So it's like, I know going into MCU lore and how characters are presented and how they're handled, that there's always going to be that factor of like, okay, something might happen different here. Like, for example, even I think Thunderbolt Ross, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's in the comics, he's supposed to become the Red Hulk, right?
Yeah, version of him. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes,
so
a version
again,
of
like
him.
that's something that's like, okay, is that going to happen? And I kind of want to go into a little bit of a theory craft, because I've got, there's a little bit of a hint that they might have said that might lead that way for Thunderbolt Ross, but again, I understand that characters can be presented differently on the big screen. And so for me, seeing this so what was her name? Her name's Antonia, right?
Yeah.
So
And Antonia.
Yeah, Antonio.
so Antonia, she is the placeholder Taskmaster. That's basically like, here's the MCU version of this character. He's not going to be a big player in the MCU because we already have so many villains, and they're maybe taking this whole arc lead. I think the next big arc that they're going to lead up to is Galactus or something, right? So like, so I think that handling minor characters like Taskmaster in a way where they don't have longevity, or maybe, depending on how they treat this character moving forward, it could have longevity, or someone else can take up the mantle now that Antonia has been handled. But I think we did get a line from the very beginning where Loki and Black Widow are talking in Avengers, where he says like, "Oh, you killed Dreykov's daughter." He says that to her in the movie. So that one line stretched all the way to this moment, and it being a part of Widow's story and her putting an end to that chapter in her life makes sense. But it's like, again, the amount of Taskmaster in the movie wasn't handled well. A whole fight scene happens against Red Guardian, and we barely get any of it.
No, I was excited for that fight too. I really wanted that.
And then
like longer.
And then we can go into it. But the final fight scene with Taskmaster was also very like a very short-winded fight, and it came and went. It was very similar to Captain Marvel fight with the Jude Law's character. But but yeah, I think that's the downplay. Like, if they handled Taskmaster better in a way where it was more longevity in fight scenes and more of a climactic ending with the character, then it could maybe fit well. But I definitely think they missed the mark, and that was probably the biggest downplay of the movie. And the only thing that I can say as my closing thoughts on the character is Antonia does live at the end. Black Widow does end up using the red mist to stop her from attacking and to get rid of the brainwash. And the last thing she says is like, "Is he gone?" So she's saying like, "Is my dad dead?" Like, you know, basically like, "Please say he's gone" or something. And so she could be removed and someone else takes the place of Taskmaster down the line. You never know with the MCU, but I wouldn't count the character out just yet, especially because the Widows, Red Guardian, and Melina all get away. But that's what I feel about how the whole ending of the movie. But all right, we can toss it over to Brawley now for his counter.
Oh, no. You want to go
Well, let
first?
Gus
Rob?
go
Yeah,
first.
go.
Yeah,
You
let
wanna
me
go
yeah,
first,
let
Rob?
me let me let me let me get it
Let it
all
out, my
out.
son. Let it out, my
Let me
son.
get it all out. Let me get it all out. So, for those that don't know about why I am so like upset, but it's like I said in the beginning of this. I was initially upset, but it's like Vash said, because Taskmaster, or this rendition of Taskmaster, had so little screen time that it really didn't like super affect the movie for me as a whole. Like, it didn't mean like, I'm not gonna say, oh, Taskmaster, like the way that I view Taskmaster put on screen is in my opinion, it's complete garbage, and that still doesn't ruin the movie for me, which is great. But Taskmaster, as like just like a very brief summary, was a dude who had the ability, growing up, to read and see people's movements and completely copy them. He ended up becoming an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and was injected with the Nazi super soldier serum, which enhanced his powers by like a crap ton. This dude ended up leaving leaving S.H.I.E.L.D. and becoming a mercenary, a man for hire. Basically, I do anything from money type of person. And that's basically like his whole entire like generalized story. So the reason why it makes me upset, and like I said in the beginning also, it has nothing to do with the costume design. It has nothing to do with, I will even go as far as like gender bending the character is totally fine. I'm totally 100% okay with that. But let me give you guys an example. It would be like if you had a character, maybe not your favorite Marvel character, right? But maybe you had a character in the Marvel series that you liked a lot.
Like Gambit,
and they
like Gambit, for example.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, like Gambit. And then they put him in the movie, and Gambit doesn't use cards. Gambit doesn't have a pole. He doesn't have his origin is not the same. He's just not Gambit. Like,
And they kind of did that.
like-
They kind of did it with Marvel, with
like-
Wolverine or Origins. They kind of made him a shitter in that movie. But go
No,
on.
hey, that version of Gambit was pretty good. Don't
Yeah,
even.
He was high, but whatever. Go on. And I love that movie. But go on.
Yeah, but anyway, so it has to me, it has nothing to do with the fact that they even gender bended the character. That honestly, to me, like, that I can look past that. But the problem that I have is when you you're not half retconning the character, you're fully retconning the
So
character.
it's basically what they did with Deadpool and Wolverine Origins.
Yes, exactly.
That's what
It's
you're.
literally that's literally the exact same thing.
Time out.
It's the exact same thing.
You go in and saying Gambit, and it's like if they took away his cards and his pole. This guy still had everything. He had the shield. He had the sword. He had the Black Panther claws. Come on,
But that's
man.
why I agree. But that's why I agree with Vash's point. It's like seeing Deadpool and Wolverine Origins. That is not Deadpool. You can call it Deadpool 1,000,001 times over the rainbow and back all you want, but that's not Deadpool. And to me, that's not Taskmaster.
Yeah,
Taskmaster.
you could say
like,
that Deadpool technically had two swords and whatever. But
yeah,
that was
oh,
not
he had. So
he
still
had no
did
mouth.
flippies.
Was
He
not the
had
merc with the
guns.
It was so funny that
He had
that version
guns.
of Deadpool had a teleport, but Deadpool in the actual comics teleports with the belt that he wears.
Yes,
Yeah.
like it's not about the difference between gadgets or what the look or the outfit or even the shield looked different, right? Like the outfit looked different, the shield looked different. All like the character was just completely different, and I don't have a problem with that because, like Bash said, I understand that. You watch if you've watched every single Marvel movie from the start of the MCU up until now, you are a seasoned veteran with the idea that anytime that Marvel decides to take a character from the comic and place it on screen, it's not going to be a one-to-one. It's just not. You're going in there with false hopes, and you're going to be let down every single time. Marvel has
I wouldn't
this
say
way
let down
of,
though, because Thor
well,
and Captain America are arguably better in the MCU than they
well,
are
yes.
comics.
So you can argue that, but what I'm saying is there are going to be people out there that are not going to be satisfied. That's the
Oh,
point
for
I'm
sure.
trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make.
for
Oh
sure.
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
with
That's with
anything.
everything. That's with everything,
though,
for
that's
sure.
normal.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're already aware that like, oh, they're introducing a new Marvel character into the MCU, like there could be a chance that it's not going to be exactly the same. I mean, and they do usually up until now they have done. I mean, besides Deadpool and Wolverine Origins, they have done a. Well, I mean, I don't really count those because that wasn't really like Marvel, right? Like that was who owned X-Men at that time?
The
Fox.
Yeah,
Fox. So like that's not even Marvel Studios that made that movie.
Uh-huh.
So like if you're talking about you want to start from like Marvel Studios on to now, you're very much aware that the characters are not going to be. Sometimes they're going to have aspects about them that are not going to be perfect, right? Like it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But my
Yeah.
problem is when you are completely removing everything that makes that character. It is no longer that character to me. It's like I said, like the Deadpool analogy is perfect.
I
from
get
Wolverine
you,
Origins.
Gus. All right, I get you. All right, let me stun you up real quick. All right, I got you. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
first off, I'm just gonna let a little spoiler out. Okay, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. Before I go crazy about this movie, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. I love the movie. It was great. Goss is right on the ending. I was right. We all didn't like the ending, right? Like the ending fight was kind of meh, kind of rushed.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this, Vash can go into the secret scene or the ending scene, whatever, the end credit scene, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. First off, no disrespect to Black Widow, but this is a Yelena movie. I think we can all agree this is a Yelena movie. This is a movie.
It was.
That kind
It
of
was.
This movie
was.
kind of.
I don't agree fully, but okay.
Okay. Well, this is kind of like like we're not gonna see ScarJo anymore. I don't think so. Maybe one more time somewhere down the line, but this is kind of like the Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans send-off movie for ScarJo. It's over. She's
Yeah,
gonna.
that's why I think it is a Black Widow movie, but it is a passing of the torch in a way. Yeah.
Right, the passing of the torch movie. Okay, so let me get to the Taskmaster stuff. So the only thing I have that is a gripe to me is the fight. Right, the fights was never enough. It was just never enough. And I told Vash when we were leaving the theater, I thought Taskmaster needed to kill somebody to feel important. He needed some kind of establishment that this is a sick villain. And Vash was like, well, the real villain was Dreykov. And I
Yeah.
get that. Even Dreykov didn't do shit. Right? Nobody really did anything in this movie other than explosions and jumping off of stuff and whatever. Taskmaster has some cool fights, but they never really lived up to the moment that it needed to be. And so that's my biggest gripe with Taskmaster. I didn't care about the Antonio thing because, yes, this is all about, ScarJo. She had this, and this was a quote in the first Avenger, she had some red in her ledger, right? She had something that was haunting her, and this is her basically sacrificing a kid for a mission. So that was her big thing. And so they needed to tie this in, and unfortunately, yes, they had to use Taskmaster for this. Okay, I get that. But remember what
Wait,
Dreykov
hold on.
said?
You're echoing through Solar's mic. So
Yeah, so or whatever. Stop putting my speaker. Anyways,
Might be my AirPods died.
yeah, maybe. Basically, guys, think about this. Okay, what did Dreykov use on Antonio?
The chip that
The
he
chip.
had.
They're the chip.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay, yeah.
it could be a very big possibility. It could be a possibility that maybe that chip could be the original Taskmaster. That maybe the chip is being sold, underground or black marketed and maybe it's to use to install and kind of like cybernetics or whatever, like that kind of thing. Where it's, that's what I feel is that
Okay.
maybe it's not the original Taskmaster, right? That this is just a chip that he used on this poor burned body girl, that he needed and bought this so that he can track down and do these bitches, kind of like a pseudo Winter Soldier, if you will, right? Like that's what Taskmaster kind of reminded me of the whole time was Winter Soldier, right? He kind of had this mask on and he was walking real slow and doing all these kind of things or whatever. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is that where are we heading through in all this? Where are we going? We're going to the multiverse of madness, right? So this is kind of like one of those things where Marvel could do anything. Look at what they did with Quicksilver, right? They put Quicksilver in. They said, "Law, it's a joke," but it could be a multiverse thing, and it could be something that can say, the real Taskmaster is probably in another universe that you'll probably see. Okay, so like these things are gonna happen. Unfortunately, it's in this movie now. Like I said, I love this movie. 7 out of 10, but this is just a stepping stone movie. It's not on
So
par
I get that.
with, Winter Soldier movie. It's not on par with, Iron Man 2, kind of like that stuff. It's not that big. It's just a setup, and unfortunately, and we'll get to it, I won't spoil it, but eventually this is the setup to a show, to a TV series.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of like, I get it. That they use the name. I know you're mad that they use the name and image for a throwaway.
Yes.
Like same thing
Yeah.
with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
And that's what I was gonna ask everyone. I was like, do you think this is as bad as the Mandarin?
Yes.
I think the Mandarin was probably worse
I think the Mandarin was worse.
because of the, like, you can argue that Black Widow had marketing towards Taskmaster for sure, but I think the Mandarin was definitely like a big chess piece that wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that because there was actually not a lot of press release surrounding Taskmaster. People just knew that he was in the movie, going off of like the trailers and little snippets that you saw on like Twitter or social media. So I mean, but it wasn't like anytime you saw like a fucking Black Widow ad, it was like Black Widow and then like Taskmaster in big fucking letters, and then like they show him like doing all, or her doing all.
Yeah. I knew the moment when we never got anything about the person talking or voiced or anything like that, I knew it was gonna be something bad. Like not like I wasn't trying to be disappointed, but my expectations of Taskmaster was already way low because I felt like what I got off. I'm kind of in the same boat with Sonara. I don't know much about Taskmaster other than Marvel 3. But what I got from Marvel 3 was that he's kind of like talks a lot, kind of like a Deadpool version.
Yeah, so he is very much in that vein, that Deadpool merc with a mouth type of character.
Right.
He's very much like that.
So that's why I kind of was like,
I mean, okay, so I mean, judging off of everything we said, we can segue because the ending isn't much, and that's probably besides Taskmaster, the ending fight is something that downplayed the movie for me because I've always been like, I really enjoyed the Captain Marvel movie. I thought it was fun, and I thought it was like interesting to see, the fish out of water aspect of Brie Larson's character, Captain Marvel, on Earth again and stuff like that. But my biggest complaint with Captain Marvel was I really wish at the end of the movie when Jude Law's character was like, no powers, no nothing, let's fight. I really wish Captain Marvel did fight him with being more confident and having, control over her entire power, fight him hand to hand and beat his ass at his own game, and then that would deliver like a nice ending fight scene. But instead she went for the one blast and said like, no, I'm not gonna do what you want me to do. And I get that, but it's like, as a spectator watching the finale of a movie, you kind of want an ending fight scene. But The same thing happens here. Taskmaster and her are flying through the air. Black Widow saves Yelena by putting a parachute on her as she's falling down. Drakovich is already dead because Yelena blew up the ship that he was escaping in with like this power pole that she got. Dreykov. And then the final fight scene, they're standing across from each other, and Black Widow says, "All right, fine, let's do this." And she does like 2 moves, knocks the mask off of her, and then she punches the red mist into the ground, and then it goes up, and then she loses her brainwashing on her, and then breaks away from it, and that's it. So it's very unfulfilling of a climax. I very much would have preferred if Red Guardian, Melina, and Yelena all showed up, and Taskmaster being able to be all this photo memory skill power could get overwhelmed by 4 people attacking him, not just 1. Like, you know,
kind of like have a bigger struggle over the red mist and stuff.
Yeah. I think having a 4-way fight against Taskmaster would have been better, because then it makes sense. Oh, this person who has all this like photographic memory is being overwhelmed because there's all these moves happening at once, rather than just studying it one at a time. You know, something like that. That would have been a nicer ending to a final fight, because family comes together and wins the day. But so essentially, Taskmaster's saved. Antonia gets the brainwashing effect away from her, and Red Guardian, Melina, and the Widows, and Taskmaster, they all fly away in a ship. And Black Widow says, "I'm gonna stay behind," because Thunderbolt Ross and all of his posse are rolling up and coming to the scene of the crime, I guess, where the Red Room had fallen down. But then it just fades away, and we're to assume that somehow Black Widow gets away. I don't really get why she didn't go with them. She stays behind, but it's not. I don't know if she talks to them and like strikes a deal or something. But she just ends up. The camera fades, and then it shows up. She has short blonde hair, and she's meeting up with the friend that was supplying her with stuff before. He awards her with a jet and says, "Oh, look what you get with time and money that you give me." And so she gets a jet, and she just says, like, "All right, I'm gonna go break my friends out of prison," and that's what leads into Infinity War, basically.
So I wanna touch up on a scene that we kind of glazed over after like the carnage is done and everybody's like chilling around and you know, just like you know, trying to they're just like everybody's basically just chilling. Everything's already done, all the fighting is over, and it's just Yelena and Natasha sitting, and Natasha finally, this is like one of the, in this movie especially, really showed that more humanistic side to Natasha that we really, I mean, we did get it in other MCU movies, but I don't think to this extreme, at least. She finally breaks down and tells Yelena, like, "Hey, you know, it was real to me too. Like, I just, you know, never wanted to say it, you know." And she finally tells her sister, like, "Yeah, you know, that whole time that we pretended to be a family, all of that was, you know, you guys are my family too."
Yeah.
And it really tied together well, because the entire movie there was always this like you know, we've brought it up a couple times, but there was always this like tension between the family of like, did we really think we're a family? Did you guys really care about me, or did you guys just do your job? And you know, there was always this like tug of war between everybody trying to figure out, you know, who it actually was, who actually felt it, who actually didn't. You know, the only person that really outright said it was Yelena. Everybody else was real like coy about, you know, like saying how they truly felt about one another. And for that scene to finally come to fruition and them to share, like, you know, it was like the first time we saw them hug. You know, they like shared like tears together. And to me, that was like a really moving scene. I almost cried.
And the whistle.
Yeah, like that's, dude, that was so awesome, dude. Like that whole scene together, like just how that scene was like the scene that stood out to me the most at the ending, aside from everything else that happened after that. But that scene specifically was really moving for me, because it like I said, it really showed the human side to especially Natasha, because she had been this whole time she had been just spewing out of her mouth like, none of you cared. Nobody here cared about me. It was just a job. It was all fake. And
Well, that's
she
true.
she
We
had that.
also brushed over the fact that her real mom didn't abandon her.
Yeah.
She finds that
That's
out,
true.
and I think that for her as a character and her as a person, I think that really gave her a big like sigh of relief that she wasn't just like some toy, some useless person. She wasn't just like a murder machine. She had a mom that loved her, and Melina tells her that her mom was relentless, and that's why they killed their mom because she wouldn't give up trying to find her. So it's another good key character moment for Black Widow to like get that kind of closure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that scene really at the end, I almost cried because it's very emotional. You finally see Natasha like reveal how she really felt about the time together, because you really get a sense of like the moment that she found out that it was all fake, and that it was just a job for the mom and the dad,
Yeah.
for Alexei and Melina, that none of it mattered. It doesn't matter. They could say whatever they want, and they can say whatever, but I mean, at the end of the day, to them it was just a job, and it didn't matter. And Natasha made it very clear that basically the entire movie, that how she felt about it, and this was like the first time where she was like, she told her sister, like, I care about you, basically, telling her sister, like, I want you to know that I care about you and I cared about our family, and it was real to me, which was great. And I love that, because that made the ending scene so much more heavier, especially the end credit scene. It made the end credit scene
Can I cut
that
in?
much
Yeah,
heavier.
like, it made me forget that she's dead. I completely forgot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was so to capitalize on all of this, basically, Yelena gives the jacket that she was so hyped about throughout the movie to Black Widow, and that is the jacket that she's wearing in Infinity War when she has the short blonde hair, which
Yes.
is a nice nod and interesting. I do think there's one takeaway that at least to me stands out, and there is a conversation between Captain America and Natasha in Endgame, where she's like crying a little bit and she's eating her sandwich, and she's like, she's just like, oh, when I got this job, like I had nothing before this and all that stuff, and ever since I got this job, like I had you guys and like my family. And it's a little bit like weird because she learns at the end of this movie that she has two families. But then in Endgame, she's only saying like, "Oh, it's you guys." So it's like maybe a little bit of an oversight, like
I don't know. Like, yeah, you could say it's an oversight, but I think maybe she only considers her sister. Like, I think she knows how to separate. This isn't really my family, and these guys aren't. Like, they were with me for a long time, especially like Fury,
and like Barton and stuff.
and Barton and stuff like that. I feel that way.
Yeah. Especially with her interaction with even like Clint's wife, and when she's like pregnant, and then she's just like, she leans down and talks to the baby, and like with the stomach, like stuff like that. Like it shows how close she is to his family. But yeah, so to capitalize on all that, so she gets the jacket, the movie moves on, and yeah, so like Solar said, it ends, with Black Widow kind of putting up her past behind her and gaining, her family and all that stuff. But then me and Brawley and Solara, we were all excited for the end credit scene because Brawley was under the assumption that Tony Stark was going to show up in this movie because he was supposedly credited in the IMBD. But instantly we get hit with Yelena walking up to a grave, and it's Natasha's grave as the post-credit scene. And then I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, that was not. I was here.
Too.
I was here looking for like a juicy like build up or some like cool scene in between, but instead we got some fucking sad shit. And so
He's like, oh yeah, don't forget she's dead, by the way.
So I want to. So that scene was like some really funny things happened in the theater during that scene. So like I also do want to point out that the scene where it shows Natasha walking towards the jet, that is the officially the last scene of ScarJo and as Black Widow in like ever.
Yeah.
So that and honestly, same thing. I didn't really that really didn't hit me until immediately the end credit scene came
Yeah.
on, and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it
but
was
there
rough.
a-
She Yelena shows up and she puts down something and she like puts her head up against the tombstone like on the side, and it's just like it just sucks.
The whistle.
Yeah, the whistle and stuff like that. So it just sucks. But then she's there staring at the grave, and then you hear a little blowing of the nose. And I want to know, what did everybody think before we got the reveal of who it was? Would you like when you hear like the little like someone like blowing their nose like that? What'd you think it was?
I didn't. I had no clue.
I
had no
don't
clue.
know. Like, maybe a moment was I thought it was Natasha undercover, but then I was like, nah.
I thought it was the dad.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I thought it could. Yeah, a lot of different, like in that split second, a lot of things went through my brain. I was like, maybe it is Natasha. Maybe it's like Rocket Raccoon. Maybe it's Alexi or something. And but yeah, sure enough, in that moment, we hear the blowing of the nose, and it's Val.
Madam Hydra.
Yeah,
Let's go, dude!
And-
I popped off so hard. Dude, everybody was looking at me. I like jumped up. I was like, yo, like, dude,
Yeah.
especially because we watched Captain America and Winter Soldier, or I guess Captain America
yeah,
and Winter
Captain America,
Soldier,
Winter
right?
Soldier.
When she comes out, and I like all the pieces just started to like line up in my head, and I was like, oh shit! Like
Yeah.
I flipped the fuck out.
Yeah. And so it's Madam Hydra. Well, she goes by Val right now, and we don't know how she plays out in the MCU just yet. But from what we've seen and spoilers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so if you don't want to get spoiled for that, stop listening now. But John Walker was approached by
My
her.
boy John Walker.
And John Walker gets his suit back, and he gets a shield. I think, well, he doesn't get it back, but she says like, "Oh, it's not anybody's. Like, you can get the shield back or whatever." And she recruits him and basically says like, "Oh, I'll just keep in touch and all that stuff." And so now we have her again in the end scene of Black Widow, and she, Yelena instantly says like, "I'm on vacation. Like, leave me alone." And then she's like, "Oh, no, I'm just here just because." And then she's like, "But, like, while you're here, I do have your next target." And she shows a little book, and it opens it up, and she's like, "This is the person responsible for your sister's death." And it's a picture of Hawkeye or Ronin. I don't know what era he was in at that moment.
I mean, it's Clint.
Yeah, obviously it's Clint, but I'm just saying I don't know if it was when he was walking around as Ronin or not. But yeah, it's Clint. He is in the photo. And that's where the scene ends. And so initially in my head, I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid because Natasha has mentioned multiple times, like, oh yeah, me and Barton used to hang out up here, and me and Barton, blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm sure Yelena could put two and two together that they were partners for a long time. So, I don't know.
Or could wonder why their partner got betrayed.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder how they're going to play into this angle of Yelena actually being part of this like new team that Val is putting together. So it's very interesting because if you got John Walker and you've got Yelena, then you've already got a slow assembling of the like either a Dark Avengers or something of the sort. But it looks like we might get an answer to this hidden this credit scene in the Hawkeye TV show that starts in August.
Yeah.
Doesn't start in August. I thought something else starts in August.
I believe
I
so.
think
Let
the
me see.
What If turns out on August, no?
Let me see. Hawkeye TV show. It's
I'm looking
going
for
to
it.
be.
On that note, when's the next Marvel movie coming out?
I think it's
Shang-Chi.
which looks amazing, by the way. The
Yeah.
trailer that they showed during the movie, oh man, that shit got me hyped.
Yes, sir.
It looks fucking good. I wanted to point out that that end credit scene, right? Like
Shang-Chi go burr.
I don't know if I said this before the stream or if I'm pretty sure I said it, but that my brother went with me to watch the movie,
Uh-huh.
and we watched it, and the end credit scene happened, and maybe like two people left the theater, and while the credits were rolling, the theater stayed packed. So when the end credit scene happened, and they showed Yelena like over the tombstone of Black Widow, there was somebody in the crowd who was like, "Yo, man, what the fuck?" Like it was
That's
so
too
fucking
good. That's
funny,
too
dude.
good.
It was so fucking funny, like, because you could tell that this dude was like, he just got hit with
Yeah.
like the feels like super hard, but it was like hella quiet in the
We
theater,
got
and this dude was
Taz.
like, "Yo, man, what the fuck?"
We got Task 360 in the chat just said, "What if series looks nice? What if Taskmaster was done properly?" That's pretty good. That's
Damn.
pretty good.
That's the goth one,
That's
dude.
fucking Lamau.
That
What if
sounds
though?
like
What if?
something. That sounds like something I would say.
But okay, so yeah, I do have the rundown here. So basically, Loki's wrapping up next week, finale. And for those of you in the chat, if you don't know, we do discussions for Loki right as they premiere at 2 a.m. Central Time for me and Broly. We watch them at 2 a.m. And then at 3 in the morning Central Time, we have our discussion. So it's like right when it comes out. But yeah, Loki wraps up. What If starts in August. Shang-Chi is in September. Venom is in September. Eternals is, I think, at the end of October or the beginning of
Mhm.
November, and then
Yeah, someone remember this. Yeah.
and then Spider-Man is in December 17th. So Hawkeye and Miss
Spider-Man's gonna
Marvel,
be
uh,
Spider-Man's gonna be OD, dude.
yeah, Hawkeye and
I'm
Miss
not ready
Marvel
for
are gonna
Spider-Man.
be probably sometime this year. I don't know when,
I'm
but
not ready for Spider-Man, man. I'm not
Yeah.
ready. I'm not ready, dude.
yeah, it's gonna
No,
be
I will
sir.
scream if I see Tobey Maguire. I was.
That was
I
great.
will
I'm telling
scream.
you, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Then you're gonna hear
Isn't
me
it? Isn't
scream.
it
No, that's what
confirmed?
you do. You're gonna hear me scream.
No, but did you guys see the promotional art for What If? Did you see that there's one little segment where it shows the Vision but with the Ultron armor around him?
Yes, he has all the Infinity Stones in
Yeah.
his chest.
Yeah, that shit look like What If is gonna be crazy just because yeah, obviously it's not gonna be like canon or anything, but it's gonna be fun to see these. Like I think the stories that I saw was what if Peggy Carter became Captain America, and then another one was what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark at the beginning. And then there was another one, obviously the Vision one, but it's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting show for sure.
I'm stoked for Captain Carter.
Oh yeah, and zombies. We're gonna have the zombie.
Oh yeah, they're
What
finally
If.
gonna put
Marvel
Zombies.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That segues
Yeah.
to our next topic. We're gonna be talking about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. I know Goss is ready for that one. Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't wait. We haven't watched it yet. We're gonna watch it tomorrow sometime, hopefully. It's not that long, it's 4 episodes, 25 minutes each, so it should be
Yeah, it's
alright.
pretty short. Pretty
Yeah.
short.
But I'm hyped for that one.
I kind of want to say that I didn't get to really like touch up on this, but one thing that which is why like you know what, I guess I'll say it when we give our scores on overall scores of the movie.
Well, yeah, let's get into that. But yeah, so just like Broly said, our next discussion, we're gonna wrap up Loki whenever that shows up next week. But our next discussion is probably gonna be about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. It's on Netflix. It's 4 episodes long, and it's like 25 minutes each. So we're not gonna do each episode discussion. We're just gonna do one big one, because it's basically the length of a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go into our scores for this movie. I mean, I'll start off. Brawley gave his already, but mine's I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's entertaining enough. It's got really good emotional value. It's got good character dialogue, and it's just got really fun action. Like all the action and all the content from the fight scenes were really good. Like they were pretty. It's nice to have fight scenes that are not Disney Plus TV show fight scenes for once, because
Yes.
like as much as I love the Disney Plus TV shows, like the fight scenes in those kind of lack sometimes, and they're very like simple and just kind of like, oh, I punched this one guy and then I snap the neck of this guy and then we move on. And these were really really well done, and a lot of the moments in Black Widow I could see myself coming back to watch it again just for fun and just to experience it again. Um, but yeah, I think it definitely. I don't want to put it at a 6. I feel like that's too low for how good the story was for Black Widow. But I also don't want to put it. I feel like 7 is pushing it because of the finale being lackluster, and then also Taskmaster being kind of like off-putting. But I'll give it a 7. On a bad day, I'd give it like a 6.5, but I'll stick with a 7.
Yeah,
Goss?
that's solid. I'm gonna give it a 7 also. Again, the only real gripe I had was basically any scene that Taskmaster was in. Only because one, they just outside of them completely retconning the character. Any scene like in the beginning of the movie, he felt like such a threat, and then just as the movie goes on, like the fight scenes don't last very long. They don't really show too much of, like, yeah, they show him use like the Hawkeye bow tricks. They show him use like the Captain America shield stuff. Like they show him doing things, but it is nowhere near as much as like, for example, since we've been using like the comparison throughout this entire discussion, comparative to the Winter Soldier, right? There was nowhere near as much as action or like really detailed fight scenes, and it like fight scenes that were at least drug out to like really give this character some sort of like, oh shit, Taskmaster's here, right? Because there were points in the movie, especially towards the middle and the end, where Taskmaster would show up and I legit would just be like, oh, here we go. Like, nothing's like, it just seems so much of an inconvenience for me than an actual like enemy. And when you like, to me, doing that to a character that, I mean, and I know you guys stated that you guys don't really know too much about Taskmaster, but Taskmaster is a well-beloved character in Marvel. A lot of people know who Taskmaster is. A lot of people like Taskmaster as a character. So seeing them kind of downplay him and then just completely retcon the character really, really was the only like issue I had with the movie. Everything else about the movie was super solid. The fights, like Vash said, were really entertaining. The ones that were, the bigger fights that were on the screen were really entertaining. The story was the selling piece for me. Really, the story was just fantastic, and I think the story really carried the movie pretty hard. But yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10. And I mean, another thing like I was gonna bring up, I kind of agree with Vash's take on how Marvel does stuff, where this might not be the last that we hear of Taskmaster. I mean, they did it with Deadpool, right? Obviously the character that Deadpool came out in Wolverine Origins, and Marvel realized that the fans really fucking hated that version of Deadpool, so they made their own, and they did a really good job of it. I'm not super huge fan of Deadpool. I'm not like I know about him and his story, but I'm not the biggest fan. But the movies are great. So I can definitely see them doing some sort of thing with Taskmaster in that regard, where, the person who, I think his name is Tony something Masters or something like that. That's like his actual name. He could hear about, oh, there was somebody called Taskmaster once. So like he, adopts the moniker or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's definitely ways that they could bring the character back and give him the justice he deserves on screen. So I'm not super mad at it. And, I would have given it a lower score based on just Taskmaster alone. But like I said before, they just didn't give him enough, or they didn't give that character enough screen time for me to really care. It would have been more detrimental if it kind of happened the way that it happened in Wolverine Origins, where the whole time you're watching Wolverine Origins, you see Ryan Reynolds, you're like, that's Deadpool. Oh shit, that's Deadpool. When is he gonna do Deadpool stuff?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! And then like right at the end, like the big reveal, and it's like crap. You know what I mean? So they didn't really do that. They kind of revealed who Taskmaster was a little bit, maybe about like 3/4 into the movie, so there was still like a big chunk of it left. So it wasn't as painful to deal with. So that's why I give the movie a 7 out of 10. And it was a really great movie. I would definitely watch it again. And I think it's super solid. I think people should definitely watch it.
Cool. So we got 3 sevens and Solara.
All right, so just kind of, I don't want to say I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I might go off too. But as a Black Widow movie, 7 out of 10. As an Alexei Yelena movie, fucking 9 out of 10. I absolutely fell in love with those side characters. Melina, not so much, because I honestly just felt like she's the plot to like lead them to Dreykov or whatever. But I mean, Rachel Weisz in the Black Widow uniform, fucking, oh my god. Anyways, but yeah, it's kind of funny that like how Goss was mentioning like, oh, you see Ryan Reynolds, when's he gonna do Deadpool stuff? We've been having these constant conversations, me, Vash, and Brawley, about like, oh, what character was, or what real life actor was made for a certain role, a la, you know, Ryan Reynolds being Deadpool. Like, I can see, Scarlett Johansson, great Black Widow, but Yelena or whoever her actress is, I don't know her name, and I don't know if I can pull it up right
Her
now.
name's like Florence something.
Yeah,
Florence.
like I can see her being Black Widow, like picking up the mantle and just taking it. Like, I absolutely love the way she portrayed herself on screen. I think she's funny, and it's just like, well, I mean, not just funny, but I mean, her action scenes were amazing too. And clearly, she's on the same level like as Natasha Black Widow would be. So I definitely look forward to seeing what she can do in the future. But yeah, overall 7 out of 10. I'd say 7.5 just to kind of keep that middle ground, because the side characters were again the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. So sweet. Yeah. 7.5. Well, pretty much 7s all across. I guess the only things that I want to end off on before we end this discussion, because we have hit over 2 hours, like I said we would.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to touch up on, well, there's 2 things. One was, so I mentioned earlier that there was a throwaway line in the movie with Ross where Natasha says, like, oh, haven't you had your 3rd bypass surgery? And she's kind of mentioning his health. That is something that could maybe lead to Red Hulk. Like, if Marvel chooses to lead him down a path where he's trying to save himself, or like, make himself healthy, or some sort of altering to, like, stay in the game of things, that could lead to Red Hulk, which would be interesting. Because I think it's in Civil War where he mentions that he just had heart surgery. And then another thing that I wanted to mention, actually, Void Gamer was the one that brought it up in the chat. Since Taskmaster does live, and we learned that a lot of the learning of techniques and stuff and such were through the chip, who's to say that Val or Madam Hydra doesn't recruit a new Tony Masters? Someone named Tony Masters who takes the suit away from Antonia.
Yeah,
that's something that could happen.
Definitely doable. Yeah.
And and you just never know with the team that she's pulling together with John Walker and now Yelena. You don't know what she can do, and since we have like Taskmaster being a merc, like an accomplished merc or something in the future. And then just gaining his photographic stuff. Like, maybe he already has a bit of like photographic memory, but with Natasha downloading all of the Red Room files and all that stuff, and also with the chip still being on Antonia's neck, they could just transfer that to a new person. So that's why I'm saying it's not gonna completely be out of the window that Taskmaster would be a thing in the future, but it could just be an altered version of him in some way.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the Widows are going to show up again in some way or form. Red Guardian is still alive, Melina's still alive, and the Widows are still alive, and they're somewhere. They didn't show up.
I
during
see the
Endgame,
widows being
so.
kind of like the Wakandan Dora Milaje.
Yeah, like they're gonna be doing something. Either maybe they're trying to find all the orphan children, and maybe they like try to put an end to their suffering, but then also form their own squad in some way, or I don't know. It can lead anywhere they want with all that stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, like we said, great movie, lots of fun. The door is open for a lot of things to happen, and so like. I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to the behind the scene, like away from the heroes. We got John Walker, Yelena, Zemo, maybe Taskmaster, and like maybe Ghost. All these characters that they could be a thing soon. And same thing with Young Avengers. So we've got the makings of a lot of like trails leading to a big thing down the line. But very exciting stuff. And
Damn, it was good to see a Marvel movie again.
yeah, it was good
I
to see
know
Marvel
it was
again.
so fucking sick. It was so good. It was so good.
I mean, I've been seeing the episodes with like the Marvel shows on Disney Plus with my girlfriend, and like I kept griping every time. I'm like, man, they really got to stop showing the whole like flip book Marvel intro, and I'm like, I get it, but it doesn't hit the same. But then when I finally saw it like in the theaters, I was just like, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying?
I'm looking for that type of feel.
The
You know what
movie
I'm
just
saying?
hits different, yeah. The
I did
GF
want to. There was
flex.
something.
Shut up, Taz.
There was something that you pointed out, Vash, about the fights and how like you were talking about that the fights in the movies were so much better than or not so much better, but that you just enjoy them more than like Disney Plus shows, which is funny because I actually felt almost the opposite a little bit. I wanted to point out that I was watching this movie and I was looking for like the brutality, because one thing about the Disney Plus shows that especially with Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was a lot of like really brutal stuff that happened, and like the fight scenes were just like whoa,
girl. What you
like
talking about?
like that was crazy.
Yelena killed that girl in the beginning.
Well, no, I mean there was brutality. I think the most brutal thing that we got was that one widow that fell from the chimney thing and like broke her spine in half, and fucking
Oh yeah,
her leg was
Yeah,
one
yeah,
way,
yeah.
and then her eye was like whited out from the electric shock. But yeah,
Yeah.
John Walker breaking his arm on the shield was fucking nuts.
I
Like,
know,
like, dude,
no,
come
no.
on, dude. Like, there was literally, we talked about this when we had discussions where we were just like so like taken aback of how brutal like the fight scenes in that show were. Especially like just anything with John Walker that in that show was just like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
they actually did this, like.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. I think that's pretty much it for our discussion today. Like we mentioned, if you guys want to watch any of our other discussions, we've covered Falcon and Winter Soldier. We didn't do WandaVision because that was before we put it all together, but we also did what is it? We're doing Loki currently. We actually did a discussion for the Mortal Kombat movie. We're gonna be doing one for Resident Evil and obviously future Marvel stuff. But yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and if you're watching on YouTube, just understand that we do live stream our discussions, and obviously we interact with the chat when there is one. And it's over here on twitch.tv/Vash. Solara joined us this time. He might hop in future discussions, but it's not like a standard. It's usually just me, Broly, and Goss. But thanks for joining us, Solara. Appreciate it.
You got it, sir.
And yeah, thank you again, Broly and Goss. I'm really excited to check out this Resident Evil stuff. And we need to have a discussion on Invincible, and I promise I'll watch it this week because I'm the only one that hasn't seen it.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
it is fire.
Yeah, but
It's-
Goss saw Invincible season 1, and Brawly saw Invincible season 1, and I have yet to see it. So,
it's good.
so I'm gonna watch it.
I told her just watch the last episode. Like for real, just watch the last episode.
I want
Oh,
all
and
of
you
it.
you have to watch the first episode, Brawley. You cannot miss.
Yeah, he
The
has to at
ending-
least see the first episode.
The ending to the first episode. Nah, he
No,
can't skip
no,
that.
the ending of the series. Just watch
Okay,
the
hey,
last.
hey, don't spoil shit, because the only thing I got
I ain't
spoiled by was
spoiling
the
it, I ain't
damn
spoiling it.
think Mark. Like that's the only part that I know from the show that got spoiled for me, because the internet took a meme and ran with it. But
Thick, thick, Solar, thick. They had a Jupiter. What do you think?
But all right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you once again for those in the chat, and we'll see you guys in the next discussion video. Until then, catch you later. Bye bye.
But
Peace.
Peace.